The Congressman, the General, and the secrets between them. In February 2026, a retired U.S. Air Force Major General vanished from his home in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He left his phone behind. His wallet was gone. So were his hiking boots and a .38 caliber revolver. At the same time, a sitting U.S. Congressman was telling anyone who would listen that he had seen classified footage of objects that, in his words, defy the laws of physics. These two stories are happening at the same time, and they are connected by a single location. Wright-Patterson Air Force. I'm Stephen Joyce, and this is UAP Disclosure, episode number 3. Eric Burleson, a Republican from Missouri and a member of the House Oversight Committee, is not a fringe figure, not a podcaster. He is an elected official with security clearance access. In March 2025, Burleson sat down with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp on their podcast Weaponized, one of the most followed UAP investigative programs in the country. What he described was specific, measured, and in his own words difficult to explain. What Burleson knows for sure
that came into this topic thinking that it was probably just like complete hogwash, that there was no such thing as non-human or aliens visiting us from another planet. But I was open to the possibilities. Now I know for sure that there's something that's happening. I'm not eliminating the possibility that it could be China, but I am for sure and certain that there is a form of a really advanced physics or an area of physics that we have never seen, a level of technology that we do not have the capabilities of, and it's almost terrifying. The last revelations that I have seen is if whether it's China or it's either way, it's an ontological shock.
Revelations that you have personally seen that the American public has not been allowed to see. Is that correct?
I would say yes. Mm-hmm.
He described aerial objects performing in ways he characterized as defying physics. The footage remains classified. No independent scientist or public researcher has been permitted to review it. He says, I now believe there's something there. Here is a second video of what he's seen.
And that if anything, we don't want our adversaries to know that we don't know.
What's the most compelling sort of firsthand evidence or briefing that you've had that personally that suggests that UAPs may involve non-human intelligence?
A recent briefing that we had, and I won't say who conducted the briefing, I can't say, but it was very compelling. The videos that we saw, and I'll generically describe the videos without giving away the farm here. And again, I have to be careful because there's a level of trust, and there's ongoing investigations, and so as a result, if we share information that was not supposed to be shared, then my opportunity to have another briefing goes out the window. Right, yeah. It closes the doors. So, but what I think I can confidently share is that we had a recent briefing where we saw, and I say we, it was myself and the team, right? So Anna Polina Luna, Tim Burchett, Andy Ogles, Nancy Mace, we're all in a briefing where we saw, varying videos of objects that are just, that no one has any explanation of. And they're all still blurry videos. I mean, that's the frustrating thing, is nothing is definitively, in 4K, that you can actually see it. But what is clear is that these objects are moving at speeds that defy physics. And so regardless of even if you had a close-up of it, The real question is how is it able to do what it's doing? And so to me, that's probably the most compelling thing that I have seen that indicates that there's something there.
In September 2025, Burleson went further. At a House Oversight Committee hearing, he publicly disclosed footage for the first time on the record. The footage shows a U.S. military MQ-9 drone, a Reaper, firing a Hellfire missile at a high-speed orb off the coast of Yemen. The date of the incident, October 2024. The target, unknown.
I want to cue up a video that I've been given. And as before it starts, I'm going to describe. This was taken October 30th of 2024. This video is of an MQ-9 drone tracking an orb, or this object, off the coast of Yemen. You'll see that another MQ-9 launched a Hellfire missile. That you cannot see that drone, and so I'm not going to explain it to you. You'll see exactly what it does. This is when it zoomed out, so you can still see it traveling.
In January 2026, Burleson disclosed something else. He said the White House had directed the Department of Defense to give him access to specific locations, military locations, where he believed unidentified craft, recovered materials, and archival records are held. His request included Naval Air Force Station, Patuxent River, Maryland; Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio; the Atlantic Undersea Testing and Evaluation Center in the Bahamas; and the Nevada Test and Training Range. He is also attempting to obtain access to approximately 24 additional classified videos.
As you know, the intelligence agencies, the keepers of the secrets, whoever they might be, are really good at their job. Your endeavor now, the attempt and the plan to visit various sites, talk to people at various secret sites, what do you think the chances are that you'll get information that would sort of confirm what your suspicions are, in light of how good these folks are at hiding things, including hiding them from Congress?
That's a good question. I don't really think that, I think the odds are not very good that they're going to pull a curtain and show me an alien or some kind of craft. But I do think that it's worth going to these locations to at least understand the narrative, understand the context of all of the stories and narratives that we've heard, and then kind of piece together and say, well, if I don't see something here, maybe there is something that explains that this is a good location where if you were going to have a laboratory where you're working on biologics, this clearly would be a great location. And at least it might validate some of the stories, right? So I think that there's value in it going there, even knowing that it's likely that they're going to move things before I get there.
On February 27, 2026, retired U.S. Air Force Major General William Neal McCasland left his home in Albuquerque, New Mexico at approximately 11 in the morning. He left his phone on the counter. He has not been in contact with his family or friends since. A silver alert was issued. The FBI became involved, and as of the most recent reporting, investigators say they have uncovered no evidence of foul play, but are, in their own words, considering all possible scenarios.
Now to New Mexico and the latest on the urgent hunt for a retired Air Force general who vanished nearly 3 weeks ago. The FBI is now helping local authorities in the search for William Neal McCasland. Investigators say the 68-year-old former general had some sort of brain fog before he disappeared, but they stress that he was not cognitively impaired.
There's no indication, and we are not putting forward, that Mr. McCasland was disoriented, confused. Arguably, he would still be the most intelligent person in the room that any of us would be in. Highly intelligent, highly capable, but that information was given to us early on, and out of an abundance of caution, we escalated to a silver alert.
McCasland holds a degree from the U.S. Air Force Academy, MIT, and Harvard's Kennedy School. He served as chief engineer on the Department of Defense's GPS program. He was program director for the Space-Based Laser Project Office. He served as director of special programs at the Pentagon, one of the most sensitive positions in the U.S. defense apparatus. His involvement was not secret. It was public. His wife, Susan McCasland, addressed the connection directly in a Facebook post after his disappearance. Her words, "It is true that Neal had a brief association with the UFO community. This connection is not a reason for someone to abduct Neal. Neal does not have any special knowledge about the ET bodies and debris from the Roswell crash stored at Wright-Patterson." That statement raises as many questions as it does answers, but it is what she said. What Ross Coulthart said, investigative journalist Rod Coulthart, one of the most credentialed UAP reporters working today, addressed the disappearance directly on his podcast, Reality Check. His assessment, in his own words, the timing is screechingly relevant. The fact that General Neal McCasland has disappeared off the face of the earth is a grave national security crisis for the United States of America. This is a man with some of the most sensitive secrets of the United States in his head. Coulthart also noted that McCasland was known to be mentally and physically fit.
Involved in the search. I want to bring in somebody who has been following the story closer than anyone, believes that McCasland's disappearance has very important implications. Ross Coulthart is an investigative journalist who hosts News Nation's very popular Reality Check podcast, covers the stories that the mainstream media is too afraid to touch. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You called this a grave national security crisis. Why?
Good evening, Jesse. Well, Major General McCasland, as you rightly noted, was an extremely senior commander at the Air Force Research Laboratories, which does a lot of the materials, aerospace, weapons research for the US Air Force and indeed the entire US Defense Department. He was in that role until 2013, and I'm told he was very, very highly cleared, very highly respected. And of course, as you rightly noted, Air Force Research Laboratories, Wright-Pat, is the location where the rumoured UAP materials from the 1947 Roswell incident were taken. It's long been rumoured to be a repository for top secret materials that were recovered from alleged non-human craft. And of course, McCasland has been named previously in leaked emails that associated him with a plan back during the Clinton-Trump election campaign, where John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, was involved in conversations with General McCasland and another general from the US Air Force about what was clearly an intention to declassify and release UFO secrets to the American public.
The FBI confirmed involvement in the search. This was notably careful, confirming they were contributing tools and resources while insisting that the local sheriff's office is leading the investigation. Critics and journalists covering the case have noted that federal deployment for a silver alert is not standard procedure. Luis Elizondo, the former Department of Defense intelligence officer who helped expose the existence of the Pentagon's ATIP UAP program, also commented publicly. His statement, "I hope and pray It is not one of those cases where a former senior military officer was specifically targeted.
What do you make of this guy? I don't mean to, call him this guy, but what do you make of the officer who went missing? Do you think this has something to do with his transparency mission?
So General McCasland. Well, let's look at it real quickly. General McCasland here has a long history in black programs within our government, both in the intelligence community and within the Department of Defense. In fact, at one time he was the chairman of the SAPOC, Special Access Program Oversight Committee. So he was read on in theory into all the programs. He was also part of and in charge of Air Force Research Laboratory, AFRL, that basically is responsible for developing technology for the next 20, 30 years, stuff that we won't even see for another decade or two. So he had a lot of access. The big question is, why is he missing? A, is he missing because maybe some foreign adversary got upset with us and decided to take advantage of the situation with Iran and maybe do something? But he did leave on his own volition. Remember, they saw him leaving the house. Two, is it involved with the UFO cover-up? There was a lot of discussion, even when I was at To the Stars Academy. He was an advisor on that. He was talking to Podesta and some other individuals over email about disclosure and about talking about UFOs and UAP and whatever information he may have historically on the topic. I think it's doubtful that anything happened to him because of that specifically. A lot of us whistleblowers that have come out have been threatened before, but no one has gone that far so far anyways, within my circle to do something that drastic.
Okay.
So that leaves other issues like perhaps domestic. We've seen when I was a former special agent, people do things and sometimes want to disappear because of maybe they have a health issue. Maybe, there's domestic issues.
I get it. Lou, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for being such a constant source of help. And I look forward
Always
to
a
talking to you
privilege.
again soon.
Here is what links these two stories and why they belong in the same episode. Eric Burleson's access request list includes Wright-Patterson Air Force. Neil McCasland commanded the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Base. McCasland vanished on February 2027, days after President Trump publicly directed the Pentagon and federal agencies to release all government records related to UAP and extraterrestrial. We will continue tracking both stories. If McCasland is found, and we hope he is, we'll cover what comes next. If Burleson gets his access to Wright-Patterson, we'll cover what he's permitted to say. These are Burleson's own public statements, congressional hearing records, reported by Russ Coulter on Reality Check, and verified news coverage of McCasland's disappearance. Everything cited is on record. Nothing in this episode is speculation presented as fact. Wright-Patterson Air Force has been connected to advanced aerospace research for decades. Today it remains one of the facilities at the center of the UAP discussion. Whether these events are connected remains unknown. But the timeline, the locations, and the people involved continue to raise questions. This is an ongoing story. If you have a tip, documented source, verifiable, reach out. I'm Stephen Joyce, and this is UAP Disclosure. Thank you for watching, and keep your eyes in the sky.